Welcome back, Internet. I'm back. After a minute. And after me doing stuff and thinking on the fact that I reinstalled my Linux distro to another distro and forgot to move my audio file, oopsies, always have a backup, to my separate hard drive because I separate my operating system from essentially all my important stuff. Like I have two different forms of storage on my PC, and I made an oopsie. But I'm gonna re-record this because I've had more thought about it, and I essentially wanted to kind of rant less. Well, rant more, but I guess like more precise. And I'm gonna clean up the audio, hopefully. But not the point. The point is, and the name of this episode is Internet of Trash, something that we all commonly know, IoT devices. How they affect society, why they probably we shouldn't connect everything to the internet, and how to essentially segment from these things from your not only from your network, but from your life, if you can. And if you can do it possibly. I am working on a video at this point, an idea and a more streamlined thought process for like iPhone users that want to switch to Graphene OS, and Androids in users that maybe like use Samsung or XYZ, why they should switch to Graphene OS. This isn't you ought to do it, but if you're tempted or even remotely even interested in switching to Graphene OS, look out for that. I am going to do pretty much an audio only, like a podcast version, and then a video version. I might edit that one. I don't know. Probably not. I hate editing. I really do. It's such a boring task to do. Some people like it though. Some people like the Zoomer edit stuff, and some people don't. You know, it's definitely a perspective. So, Internet of Things. It's something that is relatively put out there now. It's more common than it isn't. Like, everything wants to connect to the internet. And I don't necessarily think that is a good thing. Especially when it's very simple and very maybe sensitive products. Like, this is the reason I do not want a vacuum, like a self-cleaning vacuum, like the vacuums that clean themselves, like clean the floor, like robot, whatever, Roombas, because all of them require internet connection. They're all relatively terrible for privacy. Their security is probably subpar and dog shit because a lot of these products are an afterthought. And I mean, I'm going to link some articles of like things that shouldn't be connected to the internet that are, and they don't think of the security, so they have oopsie daisies. There is an open source project that is there to help you kind of like decloud some of these vacuums, but I believe that is somewhat of an extreme step, even as a self-hoster myself. They have, washing machines connecting to the internet. I mean, you think of it, there's probably something out there that allows you to connect it to the internet. That's insane to me. Or you get an app. You can get an app to control it, and then it's asking for all these insane permissions. It's like, what do you need access to my contacts for? Like, what do you need access for X, Y, and Z? And the IoT space is only growing. It's because it's probably mainly because it's cheap. It's really cheap to do. It's a feature they can show. And then if they are a demon company, they might be selling this data in the background. They might be collecting it and selling it. Now, some other is probably for analytical data, like where they're getting like statistics and like crash reports. They might very well be doing it for just that. Hey, every Sunday, these subset of XYZs always crash. Why is that? How can we improve it? How can we fix it? Etc., etc. But here's something that you have to think about. When you buy a product, especially if it's a cheap or like unknown brand, and again, they don't care about the security, They don't necessarily tell you how long they're going to support it on the firmware level, on the software level, and even worse, if they support it, if they give like a afterthought, if the company's even around. So say you pay $100 for a lava lamp that connects to the internet, or maybe like some lights. You essentially are hoping that that company is going to be around and that they're going to have the financial incentive to update your firmware within a period of time. And if they don't, and say this device has a nasty vulnerability in it, and it allows to get to compromised through whatever reason. Say it's got its own Wi-Fi network, or say that it's connected to the network and it's being publicly exposed so you can access it easily outside of your network. Like it's like using UPnP, which is, most people think that UPnP is a nightmare, and it is, because it is giving somewhat restrictive access to your network. It's convenience. This is how video games poke holes through your firewall. So a lot of products poke holes through their firewall so that you can have access to it. And again, this is where I'm going to go into towards the end why you should segment your network and the purpose of it, and maybe show this to your grandmother. Be like, this is why you shouldn't have an Alexa, Mom, or Grandma, or whoever. And the alarming amount of data that these things that probably do collect, especially like the major brands like the Alexa, the Google Home. And it sucks because a lot of these products are useful. Like, I've always wanted a smart home. I think smart homes are really cool. I remember the movie Smart House from Disney. It was kind of based, and I was like, it'd be really great if I came home and my heat was on and my lights were turned off when I left, and like just stuff that like I don't like necessarily think that it's always it's not like making your life worse or you a worse or better person if you do automate stuff like this. Like, that's super repetitive and boring, and say you forget, might help you save you like your energy bill or whatever. Just knowing your air quality in your house might be important to you and your health. Knowing your temperature, like if you do like a solar array, if you do like a big project, it'd be cool to know like how much everything's being produced, like how much solar you're producing, how much XYZ, how much energy you're wasting, how much what you can do save, etc. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. There's a lot of cool, like, I wanted a smart mirror. I remember like I was looking at you like forever ago, like trying to build a smart mirror that would tell me the weather and do all this like cool stuff. My calendar, all in a mirror, built in a mirror. You can build it yourself. This is why I love open source projects like Home Assistant, because it allows you to have that, but it's all localized. You don't need a cloud, or you can go just buy a Raspberry Pi. They even make Home Assistant makes their own kits that they can sell to you, where you can automate a lot of cool stuff that are controlled locally. But again, why does my coffee maker need Wi-Fi? Why does my barbecue grill? There was a barbecue grill that had an app, and yes, it walked through Bluetooth, but there was an unauthentication vulnerability that was in it that could be exploited, and then they could control the temperature. So they essentially could raise the temperature as high as they want, maybe go beyond the safety limits, ruin your meats. I believe it gave off certain bits of information. They would have to be close to do this. But it's just another reason why you shouldn't have these internet-connected products for fucking grilling and other things, and just in general. Like, have we gotten that? that laziness is insane. Where you have to figure out when your smoked meats were done. To me, that's just insane. And just certain things probably should, like the guy. There was a guy who found an obscure amount of data, like leaving his washer and dryer like 3 gigs, which is kind of insane. And he ended up I don't know what he ended up figuring it out. Some people theorized it was like it got compromised in a botnet. This can happen, especially if you unknowingly poking holes in your firewall with UPnP, Universal Plug and Play. That's kind of a bad thing. I just don't really see the necessity of the direction we're going, where they're just putting internet in every little object, like coffee, like I said, like coffee makers, air fry. Why is my air fryer? Why is my mop? Why does my vacuum need Wi-Fi? Stuff like that. It just doesn't. It shouldn't have access, because if you can access it in the app outside your network, there's good chance that it's probably not secure. Like, that's just my theory. Unless you use like something like, I think like Netbird, or like, obviously like an overlay VPN that's giving it a single point of one port that's being exposed. I don't believe it actually exposes ports. I forget. I know Netbird and like Tailscale are just magic. They're pretty much just magic at this point, I believe. I think that's how it's described. I know there's good documentation on how it works. And I don't think, I think they can punch through like firewalls like really securely, where it's not actually like going through firewalls. I don't know. It's doing its own magic to make it work, which I think that's what most people should set up their network with, something like Tailscale or Netbird, in order to access very critical information without exposing them to essentially to the internet. Now, what I definitely see in terms of IoT devices is you should personally get a name. I hate to even say it. Get a well-known brand. Read their privacy policy, their TOS. See what you can restrict and absolutely do, and make sure see if you can search through their policies on how long they're going to give updates for. That is such a critical point to remember. D-Link right now has they have a NAS, and they like, it has like a pretty nasty vulnerability, and they're just like, buy a new one. We don't care. Yeah, D-Link is super popular. It's kind of crazy. They're like, yeah, their router apparently as well. They have a replace your old router now. This is not that old either. I'm just like, I remember reading about this. This was like early November, like just not too long ago. It says their old VPN routers are impacted by a Unifix RCE flaw. It's warning their customers to replace end-of-life VPN routers after like critical unauthenticated remote code execution vulnerability was discovered that will not be fixed on these devices. The vulnerability, which does not have a CVE assigned to it yet, impacts all hardware and firmware versions of DSR 150 and DSR 150N, N as in Nancy, and also DSR 250, DSR 250N as in Nancy, from firmware 3.13 to 3.17B901C. They made it clear and advised that they will not be releasing a security update for these models. Recommend customer replace device as soon as possible. What a bunch of assholes, by the way. Like, they're a vendor, so they can absolutely patch this. Lower level lower level. He like talks about this. Says it's crazy. Chinese hackers also breached T-Mobile routers to scope out network, which is awesome to read. This is gain access to providers' customers' information over extended period of time. Phone calls. That's insane. And apparently, this has been around since 2019. They've been doing. Salt Typhoon telecom attacks. Like, it's sad when these big ass companies, well, like, it's pretty much sad that they get these big ass companies just do not care about any of their security. It's really, really, really crazy. And whether you understand it or not, or like it or not, it's only getting worse. I mean, like, you have Ring doorbells that have internet access, and they literally don't. I think a lot of people just keep their default passwords for everything. It's insane. Definitely. If you haven't now, go make sure all your firmware and everything is updated, and go make sure that not only everything is updated to the most latest security patch that you can, make sure all the passwords are different with a password manager. Go change it now. It's the best thing. It's the best thing that you can do. If you're going to keep your Alexa, if you're going to keep your IoT devices, then you need to make sure that you're securing it as much as possible. If you don't, then you're just leaving yourself vulnerable, and it's not a good thing. I mean, it's a lot of these devices, they can just laterally move. They can just move through your network, or just wait until they find another vulnerability, and then they can just pivot. And you may think that you're not important, but you are. And side note, it's actually kind of crazy. So there's an article going around. This is kind of a separate topic, of this cracked screen. Malware. I was just looking up some recipe or something. I'm not even kidding. Like, this cracked screen virus. It looked to a person that would never, ever be educated on this. iPhone and Android warning. There's a scary new hack breaks your phone. It's called screenware. It's a malicious software that tricks users into visiting malware-infested websites. I really wanted to investigate this, but this was on a device that probably does not get... it probably doesn't get... it probably doesn't... It's not, like, really up to date. It's just a phone that I kind of use for something else. But apparently the screener takes you to a fake copy of a well-known antivirus brand, in this case McAfee. One of these fake sites, you may be asked to pay for the service to provide data or even install the software on your phone. Clearly obvious error. Maybe I'll test it out on a phone that I'll grab a phone I have laying around that it doesn't have those updates, and I'll test it just for curiosity. I do get very curious when they lead me to these fake sites because I like seeing it, but I clicked on just a normal site and it literally popped up and it was like, your phone has a virus, and I was like, I'm glad I saw this. I wouldn't have fallen for it. I'm not that dumb, but to a person that's never seen this before, this looks legit. It looks like your screen is kind of fucked up, and that's scary to a non-tech person. A virus has been detected on your phone. Your phone is faulty. In order for your phone to continue working, you need to remove the virus. And I don't even remember the website. This screenware is absolute fucking... The device does not have an active antivirus. This is actually, to somebody who's never seen this does look scary. That's crazy. I'm not going to be surprised if more people. The cracked screen one is kind of crazy. It does look like your screen just gets fucked. And I had it on my screen, and I was like, "Oh, that looks impressive." I moved off of it immediately because I was like, I'm not dealing with this. But beyond that, I'm gonna, end of side rant. But definitely keep your software update. Don't trust anything. Don't click links, and make sure that you stay up to date as much as possible on all your devices. Side rant over. But back to the point of how Internet of Things is kind of like a burden, but how you can protect yourself essentially for it beyond updating the firmware as much as possible. If you do not use it, literally just throw it out, sell it, throw it out. Make sure you wipe it and then sell it, wipe out, factory reset it, and then sell it. And hope that the other person knows that they might not get updates or anything. Obviously, do it ethically as possible. VLANs. Learn about VLANs. VLANs is very simple to set up. They have, most routers pretty much allow you to do this. You just go into your router. You type in 192.168.1.1 or 192.168.0.1. Just find your admin panel and just find guides. There's tons of them. How to set up VLANs. Just segment your network at the bare minimum. Make a guest network. When your friends come over, set up a network just for them, so they're not on your main network. It will help clear up bandwidth. It will help make sure whatever websites they're going to. You can even turn it off. If you have Unify equipment, you can be oh, this network can only run from this time to this time, and then it turns off, and then it turns back on this time through this time. It's very convenient, especially that it's because then you don't have to worry about monitoring it. You don't got to worry about doing crazy stuff, and then put a secure long password on it. That is all you really need to do. Make a whole IoT network, create that whole entire different Wi-Fi point. If these will all work off Wi-Fi, all you have to do is create a whole nother access, take your access point, make a whole separate network. And when you do that, just do some basic firewall rules hey, these devices cannot talk to these devices at all. Drop all incoming traffic between these devices. That's how I have my network set up. I have my server, but I have my server not talk to certain critical information, critical sites. Not sites, critical pieces of hardware. No incoming or outgoing, no, and then I block sets of IPs. I do some ACL rules, and then I take a subset of IPs that only this IP address can talk to this server. I know there's Bastion servers too, where you have to be logged in through this set of IP addresses in order to SSH in. There's different ways you can kind of protect your network and segment it and still communicate relatively well. Another really good tip with IoT devices, beyond putting them on their own separate network, is also seeing if they just work without internet. Unplug it, give it no internet access, and just see if it still works. I know they're called IoT devices, but see if it works locally. If you can block incoming, outgoing traffic all around except for internally, and see if it can access without the need of going out to the whatever cloud infrastructure it needs to function. See if that's possible. See if there's an offline option. Definitely, if you have cameras, make sure you could just do an NVR if they allow it. Make sure that they allow separate, they allow your own storage, no cloud, just base. There's so many good NVR, there's so many good NVR solutions out there. Micro SD cards, there's some cameras, if I was looking at that, allow micro SD cards, so that's a huge a huge step in being able to at least retain that information as much as possible. And then routinely, like beyond just like firmware and security updates, routinely look at to see if there's still not only supporting it, but look at reviews. Make sure that you're getting a good quality product. I think people like to really skip on the price, and I just don't think it's ever a good idea, especially when you're getting it from like cheap, inexpensive like manufacturers that just do not care. They just want to make a sale and move on. And it sucks too, because there's really you're probably just getting it like because you're like, oh, this is, I'm getting these cameras because it makes it very convenient to check on my house, or like my packages, stuff like that. Just make sure that you're getting good quality products that have like decent, like relatively okay privacy policies. Like, it's not going to be good, and decent security updates and firmware updates. I mean, that's my general consensus. And then make a separate network. That's going to be your best defense, because then you can prevent it if it does, or not if, but really when it gets compromised, or if it's collecting just data you just don't want from, say, it's scanning your network, stuff like that. Like stuff you got to think about, and what's it collecting, and try to prevent that as much as possible. And most importantly, just move away from fucking IoT devices. Like, just try to find good analog offline options out there. I know there's not a ton for situations like Home Assistant is one of them. It can do a lot of automation locally only. And there's just a ton of really good GitHub projects out there that essentially allow you to connect to the local network without the need for internet access outside of that. But I don't know, beyond that, that's pretty much all my thoughts and my ranting. Much shorter this week. Definitely look out for my it's going to be like my more longer in depth of like iPhone users leaving the Apple ecosystem, breaking out of the walled garden, and going into the more based Graphene OS. Hopefully that this I'll get that pumped out like in a week or so. I got some other things that I'm thinking about and doing, and that's pretty much it. You guys have a good night.